Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Crying like a beautiful sea. I choose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. At first sight, I felt the energy. I was amazed. I saw the light inside your eyes. To know.
I am making this video in tribute to my brother, John Heurich. It would be his birthday today. He would be turning 25. My brother was brilliant and charismatic and hilarious, and he made an impression on everyone he met. Like, he was an unforgettable person. He was a poet, a deep thinker, a musician, an artist, a stand-up comedian, and just a crazy, wild, fun person. I've gathered together some poems that I've written about him, as well as some that my sister Becca has written as well. I also have some of his work. It's a bit daunting reading his work. He has a very raw, edgy, fluid style of poetry. He was very influenced by the Beat generation. He loved Kerouac and Ginsberg and Burroughs. And it's their influence is clear in his work. He was someone that shone too bright for this world. I'm going to go ahead and read just a few small samples of his work. I printed them off from online, so if you're like, why is she squinting? It's because I printed out the entire page instead of just the poem, and so the words are all tiny. But I will try to do him justice, though I couldn't possibly. A History Lesson, Why and Why Not, by John Heurich. In the beginning, God created Eden, in the perfect dwelling of man. God kicked us out, and we have forever tried to recreate utopia, and we do it without God. But the tower has fallen, Atlantis was swallowed up, Rome has burned, and America too shall pass, and it is then God we blame for our failure. We cry to the gods who have made us bastards, and then we rebuild. Life and homeostasis, mathematic thoughts and lobotomies, pure thoughts and thinking, the butterfly that causes the hurricane. When you smiled at her, she took a chance. You denied her, she took her life. The one who loved her went on a killing spree, grew to love violence, and destroyed a generation with fear. We are the atom bomb, the plutonium irradiated, the single cell, the perfect mathematical equation of a snowflake explained by the unity of pi. But can you predict cancer? Is imagination a mathematical equation brought on by chemicals, receptors, choline, glutamate, adrenix, noradrenaline, epinephrine, serotonin, happiness, love? Are these chemical reactions to the intrinsic value of reproduction alone? Or is there more to humanity than chromosomes? Why is it that in our blood that can give us, what is it in our blood that can give us life? What gives us revolution? What makes honor? Honor is the perfect use of imagination, not science fiction, but the beauty of defying oneself to do exactly what needs to be done in a way impossible for others to reenact. So how do we come about this rebuke of our nature? Why do we rebuild and deny something greater? Would even the greatest of minds, if he knew of a greater being, i.e. aliens, would you not want to live at peace with them? This, of course, is laughable because the greatest minds are eugenic in nature. It's narcissism we must overcome. That is the truth about existence. That is why utopia is for the blind. Of the City by John Heurich. I sort of faded in and out of sidewalks and shopping places with window shops, flowers and fresh oranges ripe and round, fresh right there, short enough to touch, cheap enough to eat, so I buy a few and watch the people wave in and out, spreading in and out, thin and fat, long, short, thousands of folks, like a river of people, like a force of human nature, and they all have people to go to, things to see, and they all have lives unsettled with importance, fitting in there somehow, reasons for living and their conversations, as they speak and fluently live within each other, but all together and some on cell phones, claustrophobic, and yet so easy to feel alone. Apparently no one gives high fives anymore unless you put change in their cup. All the people with their pretty painted faces, dressed up and dressed down, hip and out, some far out, some hard to look at and some hardly looking both ways, some a bit inebriated, some a sight for sore eyes, and some with seeing eye dogs, all moving with the noises that creep into your ears. The man yelling out, getting your attention, "Hot dogs," he says, and the scent of food rejoices over the loud machine of the city, the uproar, the choir, the machine, the beating heart that beats life like an organism. We are all but blood cells. And this is just an untitled little thing that he actually wrote to my sister Becca. You're never alone if you have pulled yourself. You are never alone if you have yourself in your mind. Sometimes they agree to disagree, so that denial can separate you from reality, and depression is the knife that cuts denial. But what we have is ourselves, and sometimes magic is what it is because it isn't there. If life wasn't shit, we would hate it. Perfection destroys imagination. Because we struggle with things others don't. We have something that is stronger than they could ever be. Something that no one can ever take away from us. We have ourselves, and if we have that, we are never alone, and we will never die. Johnny definitely thought he was invincible, and he can make you believe it too. He seemed inhuman, just like he ran on something other than blood and energy and life. The first poem that I want to read about my brother is by my sister Becca, and it's just called John. John by Becca. He cut the tongues from his shoes so they couldn't speak of his pathways. He carried his secrets like treasures and hid them in words wrapped in sentences. They dripped from his mouth. Late in the night when all the world sleeps, too brilliant to be understood, too strong to let anyone in. I see him in the mirror, pride and hope and dreams, in a place where no one knows anyone. I know him, and he knows me. Becca was closer to John than anyone, and they had a really beautiful connection. And when they were together, they were more than just themselves. I mean, Rebecca, she's amazing, and Johnny, he was amazing. But Rebecca and Johnny together, they were the dynamic duo. They were con men. They were a two-man operation. They were a comedy act. They were a stand-up routine. They were everyone's best friend. and they were amazing. And sometimes I miss not just Johnny, but Becca, how she was when she was with Johnny. The next poem I'm going to read, I actually wrote when I was 16. Honestly, actually maybe 15. And my age is a little reflected, but it just kind of shows the way I always saw Johnny. Aimless driving. You've got to be really artsy or really crazy to find streetlights and traffic signs beautiful. I'm a little of both, so I guess that explains it. Everything is better at night, even the air. My favorite thing to do is drive to nowhere, and it's doubly special with you there. I rejoice in the electric lights as much as the stars, not only because of them themselves, because everything is perfect where you are. The glow as we pull out of the gas station shows off our matching red lips, and your crazy driving is about to spill the rest of our slushies. We're out at 3 o'clock in the morning because you had the munchies. I've got quite a lot of sugar in my veins, but you are cruising on something stronger. You've got one leg out the window and the other on the gas. I'd ask if you're okay to drive, but you'd only shush me when I asked. Apparently, I value you and me spending time more than I value being alive. You're making fun of my ex-boyfriend, and I laugh with you, even though I like him. I'm thinking about the girl in the gas station and how she was jealous, misinterpreting our relationship. It's amusing to watch your effect on women. We dug in our pockets to see who had more cash. I had a 20. You had a 10. I loved your smile when you said, "You win." I paid for the slushies. You flirted with the girl, and her eyes bore into my back as we got back in the car. I don't think she was wishing me well. The radio is playing, and I hate the music. I find it disgustingly pornographic. If I was with anyone else, I'd tell them to change it. But not you. Not tonight. The last thing I want is an argument. You're going off on a political rant, and I don't agree with a word you say. But I love to hear you talk, so I drink it in. I'm just a piece of furniture in your wild life, permanent and due grudging affection, but usually ignored. For once, you were paying me attention, so I'm trying not to mess it up. You've got so much adrenaline. Well, that's not all it is. But you were driving like a maniac regardless, and honestly, I love it. I love almost everything you do, probably because I love you. You're playing nice for once, full of empty promises. I don't mind. I know you think you mean them. And I don't need anything from you. Anything but time. You ask me where I want to go, and I say anywhere, because I don't care, as long as you are there. So, yeah, he was my big brother, and I was definitely the adoring little sister following him around, and not always very appreciated. But, I mean, there were definitely times when we had great talks, and when he would let me in. That was awesome. The night that he died, actually, me, Becca, and John were just all hanging out together and talking and laughing, and we were watching Adventure Time, which is this crazy cartoon that we all love. And we were all planning to get a place together, and that night we were just talking about what it would be like, and how it was just going to be this grand adventure. And I loved how he was including me in everything that he said. Like, you know, I wasn't just the tag along. You know, I was a part of the plan. I was actually invited to this, you know, adventure. So that was, I have always thought that it was a blessing that night he was so happy, and he went to sleep and he never woke up, and I can only hope that that he just slipped away in bliss and that it wasn't painful, but I guess no one can truly know that. Another poem that I wrote is The Golden Boy, which I wrote this one when I think I was also 16 when I wrote this one. The golden boy. He stays out all night and sleeps in all day. He's terribly charismatic and his hair falls just the right way. He can out-debate you, and there isn't a sport he can't play. You'll never see them, but he writes songs. And if you hum a tune, he can string along, hitting all the right keys. Girls call him handsome. Older women say he's the bee's knees. And if you're ever taking a picture, you'll be blinded when he says cheese. He's a golden boy. You just want to catch some of that shine. He's got people around him all the time, but they don't see when he cries, 'cause he's fun at the party. But after he goes home, they don't want to know. Golden boys are magically okay. They aren't depressed or flawed in any way. All of those lyrics are coming from somewhere, and he sings in his bedroom about going nowhere. And he fills up on liquid love, but he gets no satisfaction, because that just isn't enough. But you won't see him sad, because he's got to stay tough. And it would look bad to talk about meaning and love, how he wants someone to trust, someone he can talk to, a relationship that's not just about lust. He can't bring down the party with that seriousness. He has a reputation to hold of reckless intoxication and promiscuousness. So once again he'll go home and sing to his walls of the golden boy and how his image is false. I actually substituted alcohol for his true vice in this poem. I was 16 and I sort of censored myself, I suppose. But he actually preferred opiates, not alcohol. But besides that, pretty accurate portrayal of him, I believe. I have one more poem, also written before he passed. I have written poems since he passed, but I decided not to include those poems because they were more about me dealing with him passing than they were about him. And I wanted this video to be about the person that he was. And so, this poem I actually wrote for the first time in middle school, and then I edited it and rewrote it some in high school. It's called This Strange Heart. It seems I like to hurt myself since I make such stupid decisions, but I'd peddle my own blood before I'd see you suffer. Curse this strange heart of mine. Its instincts of mothering are too fine-tuned for my liking. Why is it I have to keep caring when you've long since stopped? I follow behind, picking up the pieces you've dropped. You swear you're all right, wicked smile, brilliant mind, but so full of foolish pride, dusty-nosed and wild-eyed. Yeah, you're just fine. I'd take the consequences of your poisons and leave to you its much-loved effect, if only it would make you hate me a little less. I wish you'd stop judging me by my past. I'm not the child I once was. But we're not just growing up. We're growing apart. Obviously, my relationship with my brother was complicated, but I loved him deeply and I admired him, and I will always miss him. I think, honestly, anyone who ever met him will always miss him, because he was a shooting star, and he burned out fast. But he lit up the lives of everyone who encountered him. So, I'd just like to say that I love you, John. I miss you. And you will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching. Bye.